Okay. And yeah, we'll get started. Okay. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and spending a little bit of your evening with us. Tonight we're going to be talking about programs within the Department of Educational Policy and Leadership. Um, my name is Alyssa Yesko. I am the director of the Pathways into Education Center. I may have talked to some of you at one point or another. You may have been in contact with our office, but we are an office that advises on all of the graduate programs in the School of Education at UAlbany. We also assist with teacher certification questions, education minor for undergrads. We keep in touch with alumni. We work closely with departments. So we're sort of like a catch-all for everything School of Education. We can answer a lot of your questions, but for the ones that we can't, we know who to get you in touch with. So we are a great place to start if you do have questions. We also have some wonderful people today here from the Educational Policy and Leadership Department. So I'm just going to give them each a little moment to say hello and to introduce themselves.
Well, I guess I should go first. I'm Catherine Schiller. I'm the department chair and also an associate professor in the department. And I'm really excited to get a chance to talk to you. I've been here at the university and department for over 20 years. So I'm committed to it and know a lot of the history, but also I love the way we continue to develop and grow. So welcome.
Okay, I'll go next. My name is Gina Giuliano. I'm the graduate advisor for the department, and I'm also a lecturer, so I teach some classes as well, at both undergraduate and graduate level. I'm an alumna at the graduate level of UAlbany, two programs, public administration, and also of the it used to be called Educational Administration and Policy Studies. And when I got my degree back in the year one, that's what it was called. So I know a lot about the institutional history and also about the program history and also about the program as it currently is. So you may have been in touch with me already, or you probably will be in the future if you apply. So welcome to the meeting and welcome to the department if you do end up becoming our student.
Maria, you're muted.
Okay, let me try that again. Hi, my name is Maria Moon, and I'm the department coordinator. I've been with this department for 8 years, at the university 21 years, and I'm the point person kind of for questions, and I correspond with, listservs, that type of thing. So I'm kind of the person that you will get to know pretty well, and I'm the person to ask questions of. And like Alyssa said, if I can't answer the question, I'll point you in the direction of someone that can. So welcome to this session, and we do hope to continue to hear from you.
Thank you all so much. I think I should also mention that I'm an alumna of the programs as well. I have my master's in, as Dr. Giuliano mentioned, the program was called Educational Administration and Policy Studies, so that's where my master's is. But I recently got my doctorate in Educational Policy and Leadership from this department as well. So along with being able to talk to you guys about the program from an employee's perspective, I can also answer some questions and talk about it as a student because I was a student not too long ago. So I'll jump right in. Today, we're going to be talking about a couple different programs. We're going to focus really tonight on the Masters in Educational Policy and Leadership, the Masters in Higher Education, the Masters in International Education Management and Leadership, along with the certificate study that corresponds with that Masters. And then, of course, the PhD in Educational Policy and Leadership. We do have some additional programs that we aren't really going to touch upon, but if anybody did have questions about those, we're happy to answer them. We have advanced graduate certificates for school leadership. So for those who are interested in becoming a principal, a school district leader, a superintendent, we have certification programs for that. We have a certificate of graduate study in community college leadership. And I'm also going to talk a little bit tonight about micro credentials, which are pretty neat. And And I'll just touch upon those kind of quickly. So, okay, the Master's in Educational Policy and Leadership is a wonderful, it's a pretty broad degree within this field that allows you to learn about leading organizations, working with people and policy making and making decisions, focused on an educational setting. The nice thing about this degree, I did say it was broad, but it does allow you to focus in on your interests. So there are the opportunity to declare a concentration in either educational policy, global and comparative education policy, and school leadership. So there are certainly opportunities to make this program your own and to study what it is that you are interested in. It is a 36 credit program and it can be completed online. We have our Master's in Higher Education. I think this is probably the equivalent to the degree that I completed at the master's level. So I completed the Educational Administration and Policy Studies program, but with a concentration in higher education. And so it was very likely similar to this master's. And this program is for those who are taking on administrative roles in colleges, universities, and government education agencies, other educational companies that deal with post-secondary education. It's a perfect degree for professionals at any level. So whether you're just thinking about entering into higher education, whether you're already working in the field, potentially, maybe you've done some, work study work during your undergrad and found that you really enjoyed the environment of working in higher education. And even for those who are mid-career, who could use this as a professional development opportunity and to advance their career. Students who graduate from this program go on to work in colleges and universities. That's probably the primary place where they end up, but they also end up in government agencies, making policy and sort of becoming a leader in the field of higher education, nonprofit organizations and educational companies. So I know one of my friends from the program is actually going to be working for an educational startup company, and she completed the sort of equivalent degree of this sort of like I did. This is another 36 credit program that can also be completed online. Our programs in international education management and leadership, I really love to talk about these because they are very unique. There aren't too many degrees out there that are targeted in this specific area. It's a program that allows you to focus in and pursue careers in international education settings. So we're thinking about student affairs, study abroad coordinators, enrollment managements for our international students, foreign exchange specialists. Again, a lot of different career opportunities as far as where you can work with this degree. And I think because it is such a unique and sort of like niche degree, it sort of sets you apart from other applicants if you are looking to work in the field of international education. It's perfect for, again, another degree that's perfect for professionals at any level. So those who are just interested in this field, or even those who are already working in this field. This is an asynchronous online program. So there's a lot of appeal to that. If you are already working, that might help to fit your schedule a little bit better. So we have a Master's in International Education Management and Leadership. This is a 30 credit comprehensive program that covers, aspects of higher education and then a focus on international and comparative education. Then we also have the certificate of graduate study, which I should point out is actually 12 credits and not 9. We recently changed that, so I have to update my slide here. And that sort of, it's sort of an abbreviated version of that master's degree, but still covers quite a bit in the courses that are required. You're learning administrative knowledge and the planning skills needed to sort of enhance whatever knowledge and experience you have in an educational field to be able to work in the international realm. And again, the wonderful thing about that is if you do the certificate program and you love it and you want to pursue it even further, those credits can be used toward the master's program. And then the PhD in Educational Policy and Leadership. This is an opportunity to advance both your career and your research skills. So keep in mind, it is a doctoral level program. So there is a research, a heavy research component there. So if you're interested in sort of like delving into a topic and also gaining the skills needed to contribute back to the field by conducting your own research and creating your own knowledge or solving a problem, by gathering information and sort of answering questions. This is a wonderful opportunity and a wonderful program. I learned so much from this program, skills and knowledge that I still use every day in my career. So you pursue research in various settings. We have faculty who are knowledgeable in a lot of different areas within the field. So whether you are a K-12 focused person, or if you're like me, higher education focused person, those who are most interested in creating change through policy, through government agencies or nonprofits, it really allows you to, there's flexibility there to sort of pursue what it is that you're interested in. So you select a concentration that aligns with your interest in educational policy, global and comparative educational policy, higher education, and school leadership. Like I said, you're working with faculty with a range of expertise and knowledge and experience and connections, and you get to learn from them. It's a 69 credit plus dissertation program with flexible course offerings for working professionals with lots of options for online, but even courses that are synchronous or in person, those are offered during the evening to allow those who work during the day to complete the program, which I did. So I worked full time while I was completing the doctoral program. The other wonderful thing about this is that previous graduate coursework may count toward the degree with approval from your advisor in the department, which is another thing that I did using my previous master's degrees to count toward the doctoral program. So some information on applications and deadlines. For the master's programs that I mentioned, all of those require transcripts, letters of recommendation, so 2 or 3 depending on the program that you're applying to, your resume, a statement of goals, and an educational leadership essay. The certificate program requires transcripts and 1 letter of recommendation, your statement of goals, and a 3.0 GPA or 5 years of relevant work experience. And then the doctoral program requires transcripts, letters of recommendation, resume, statement of goals, educational leadership, essay, and academic writing sample. And then the very exciting thing for those who are working on their application right now, the GREs have been waived through spring 2023. It is an ongoing evaluation process about how the GREs will be incorporated or used in the future. But for right now, we can say that they are waived through spring 2023. For the master's and certificate programs, there's a rolling deadline. For students who are curious about what that timeline might look like, I typically tell them to have their applications in about 4 to 6 weeks before a semester begins to allow the admissions committee time to really consider your application and to give it thorough review. We also have some different deadlines for the PhD program if you're considering a departmental assistantship. So essentially what that would mean is that you would be a full-time student who is doing some type of work within the department, either working as a research assistant, a teaching assistant. There's a student from this program who actually works in my office, which is more of like an administrative role. So there are opportunities to apply for that. So there are hard deadlines for that. For the fall, that's a February 1st deadline. And then for the spring, that deadline has passed. That's October 1st. But if you aren't looking for that departmental assistantship, there's a rolling deadline for this as well. For doctoral applications, I would say 6, 7, 8 weeks, because these applications, we really do consider them very thoroughly especially for doctoral study. The admissions committee gives considerable time to each application. So, just as a way to make sure that your application is thoroughly reviewed and to be respectful of the admissions committee time, to get it in earlier rather than later. To talk a little bit about micro-credentials. This is something that is offered through the university that helps you to develop new, relevant, and demonstrable skills to give you a competitive edge in the job market. It is sort of a cluster of courses or experience or knowledge that's given to target a specific area within the field. And you receive through these a digital badge, which is basically something that can be shown to or given to employers to show I've done this micro credential and I've earned these very specific skills in this targeted area. So it's a way to sort of enhance your knowledge, and it's a great professional development opportunity. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the micro credential in improvement science leadership. It is an online micro credential offered for graduate students. And essentially, I'll just read from here. The earner of this micro credential is a leader and practicing professional who can engage in systemic improvement initiatives. They can act as a change agent and galvanizer for improvement in their organizational settings. It's really focused on how to take action to make changes within your organization. So this skill that sort of seems like a really broad skill through this micro credential becomes much more quantifiable to be able to help you become a leader in your organization who can make decisions, who can solve problems, who can make changes. It's offered through the School of Education, right in the Educational Policy and Leadership Department. And it involves 3 courses. So 2 of them are required that you'll see right here. And then you would select one. And these are all, I believe these are all 3 credit offerings. Is that correct?
Not the 687 advanced seminar. That's a 1 credit capstone course.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So I just wanted to point this out as an opportunity for someone who maybe isn't ready to commit to a degree program just yet. Maybe life is a little crazy right now. This is an opportunity to not only sort of dip your toe in the department, but also to gain something that can help you in your career. And so maybe not as much of a commitment as a degree program, but maybe a way to test the waters and see if this is something that you might want to pursue. Some frequently asked questions. How long do these programs usually take? I hate to always give this answer, but it does depend. To give a very rough estimate of degree completion times, the typical completion of a master's degree is about 2 years of full-time study, and the typical completion of a doctoral degree averages about 4 years of full-time study. So some factors to consider in that are, are you going to go full-time versus part-time? What are your life commitments? So what commitments do you have outside of school or work? Are you working? The number of credits that you're able to transfer in. So the number of previous graduate coursework that you apply for advanced standing with. So that would certainly alter the time to completion. And then of course, your own time management and skills and motivation. So these are all sort of like personal factors. Just to give everyone an idea, I came in with a lot of credits. So all of my credits from the masters within this department were able to be used toward my PhD. And then I also had credits from another previous master's from a different department from UAlbany. And so I didn't have too many classes to take once I actually was accepted to the PhD program. But I did 1 course at a time. So I was doing 1 course each semester, and then it took about 2 years to write my dissertation. So all in all, like all said and done, I think for me as a part-time student, it was about 4 or 5 years, but that's because it would have taken a lot longer had I not had those credits being applied to the degree. Can programs be done part-time? I sort of already answered that question, but yes, it does lengthen the time to completion. So I want to point out the statute of limitations. This is a university-wide policy. For master's programs, it is 6 years from the time that you enroll. And for doctoral programs, it is 8 years. There is a residency requirement for the doctoral program that requires that you study full-time for 1 year. However, if you're like me and you're working in a relevant field, you can apply to have that requirement waived by demonstrating that you've worked in a relevant field for 1 year. Continuous registration is required for the doctoral program, although a leave of absence can be permitted when needed. So I think I've already answered this question as well. Can my previous graduate coursework count toward the program? Yes. Previous applicable graduate coursework can count toward any one of the degree programs. You'd work with your advisor after you enroll to apply for advanced standing, which means to just apply for which courses would count that you've already taken can count toward these degrees. You can transfer in up to 30% of the required credits for a master's program, and you can bring in up to 34 credits for the PhD program. Some things that are considered when we're assessing previous coursework are the content. Obviously, is it relevant to the degree, and the length of time since the course was taken. We work in an ever-changing field, and so if you took a course on the use of technology in higher education in 1992, that one might not work out. Are online courses offered? Yes, absolutely. Although course offerings differ each semester, you'll find a great selection of online courses. And there's also in-person courses and hybrid courses offered. So they may say, we're only going to meet 5 times, the rest of the work will be done online. And so it really depends on the course and the instructor, but definitely a lot of online course offerings for those who are interested in that. They may be synchronous or asynchronous, but keep in mind that any in-person and synchronous courses are almost always going to be offered at times that are conducive to a typical work schedule. So courses will be scheduled in the evenings and even some on the weekends to accommodate that. In what ways can I fund my graduate studies? So I mentioned assistantships. So departmental assistantships would be, you would apply through that with your application. As I mentioned, it would be working within the department in some capacity, and it does require full-time study. You can also apply for other assistantships outside of the department. So there are university-wide assistantship postings that you can also apply to through the graduate school. There are university-wide scholarships available to graduate students, but there are also School of Education specific scholarships, which I like to point out is a much smaller pool than applying against the rest of the university. So the fact that the School of Ed is able to offer those is a wonderful thing. There are even specific scholarships for a given field. So they may have a scholarship that's directed at someone who's interested in educational policy and leadership. The Office of Financial Aid is always the best place to go for questions about tuition or funding graduate studies. I only say that because it's just not my area of expertise, so it's always best to get the information straight from them. They do have a tuition chart posted on their website, which I think is very helpful. That sort of tells you the per credit rate. So like I said, for information on tuition, financial aid scholarships, payment plans, that would be financial aid and student accounts or the graduate school. For information on departmental or other assistantships, apply for the PhD with assistantship consideration or search for assistantships through the graduate school. And then these are just some links and information to scholarships that I'd be happy to share if you'd like. These are also a bunch of links, but just, each program that we offer has a program page, and I'm sure that you all have potentially already visited these, but they have a lot of great information, not only about what the program has to offer, but about the courses that you could take while in the program. So it gives you a good overview of that. This is also where you can find really great information on the deadlines and the application materials that are required. So like I mentioned, each program has a program page that tells you a little bit more about it. And then here's contact information for everybody here, but also Dr. Harvey Charles, who is in charge of the International Education Management and Leadership programs. And yeah, and this is just the link that I like to include for anybody who might be interested in doctoral study and wants to know a little bit more about the research being done within the department. This is a link to our faculty bios. This is actually a link to the Educational Policy and Leadership Department page, but if you scroll down, then you'd be able to see the different faculty. And if you click on their names, then you can learn a little bit more about the research that they do and where their expertise lie. So I definitely recommend that for potential doctoral students. And just one last plug for the PIE Center. Like I said, we are sort of a catch-all for the School of Education, and you can always get in touch with us. So we're really diligent about checking our email, and we also offer open Zoom hours. So if you just want to have a chat with us, if you want to just get your questions answered and have a conversation with someone, the link to join is on our website, along with the hours that we're there. You just click it and you're able to reach us right away. So here are some of the submitted questions, and I do see that the chat has quite a few things, and I don't know if anybody has been attending to that yet, but we will get there if we haven't. but these were some of the questions that were submitted during registration. So what are some tips for writing the statement of purpose and the educational leadership essay? Dr. Schiller, do you want to jump in?
I was actually gonna defer to Dr. Giuliano because she
Oh, okay.
advises a lot more students if she doesn't mind.
Yeah.
No, I don't mind. I would say when you write, it was a question about the statement of background and goals, or was it about the essay?
Both, actually. The question
Oh.
was about both.
Okay, well, I think the essay has a topic and it asks you to select an issue in either higher education or K through 12 or policy or whatever and write about it. So I would think that it would assume some level of background knowledge about the field. And so that you would be able to then select and do a little research and answer the question. And I mean, you might pick something that's a major issue in education at the time. I mean, I'm just thinking on the news all the time, we hear that mental health issues among college students are huge and have grown larger. That might be what you pick. And then you write about how you think we could deal with it as a sector, or how you would deal with it personally, or whatever POV you want to assume. In terms of the statement, which in some ways to me is more important than the essay, it would be, I think you would address how you fit with what you're applying for. So if you're applying for educational policy leadership, how do you fit with an educational policy leadership master's degree? You might look at our website, at our faculty, at what their backgrounds are, and see where you match with their interests. Maybe talk a little bit about your background, either your pathway to higher education or to whatever kind of education it is that you're seeking. Maybe talk a bit about your work experience or your own personal experience in education. If you have a deficiency in your background, something that's going to jump out and be glaring, you might address it, like why. I mean, not everybody, but a lot of students have a bad freshman semester or something. But if there is something that's going to cause an admissions committee a question, you probably should mention it and not ignore it. But in terms of the fit, again, how do you fit with our program? What do you know about our program? You should probably be showing the admissions committee that you have looked at our website, that you have attended a session like this, that you have done some thinking about your future and about how you would apply this degree, how you would fit with our program, what you hope to gain from it. Those are the kinds of things that I would think that you would talk about in your statement. And I wouldn't make it too long. I mean, I think a couple of pages is enough for a statement. So I don't know if I have answered your question or not, but if I haven't, I'll certainly willing to try again.
Thank you. Someone had asked, does the Master's in International Education Management and Leadership prepare students for a PhD in Educational Policy and Leadership? Yes. Okay. Yes. So those credits can be applied to the PhD program. Some of these I put up here just to show it, just to make sure that everybody knew that I got their questions, but I think I addressed a lot of these last two questions. So the admissions requirements, and also, is funding and scholarships available? So yeah, I think we've answered these, but let me just take a look at the chat here. Okay. I don't know which ones have been addressed or not, so I'm going to have to scroll back up. So some of them have been addressed. Assistantship.
We got a hand raised too.
Oh, okay. Can the person who raised their hand do you mind asking your questions while I take a look at this?
Yes, my question is, Ms. James, I'm interested in international education. However, I thought before that I saw that you had the PhD in international education, but I'm not seeing that. In terms of the master's, do you more or less have a counselor that you can sit with to decide your trajectory and make a plan? For instance, if I ended up wanting to do the PhD, to do a master's where I know, like, literally all my credits are going to be going towards the PhD because that's the end goal. That's the one question. The second one is about the GOP assistantship.
So answer the question on your credits. All of the programs that Alyssa's been talking about, the graduate certificates, the master's degrees, all nest within the doctoral program, which means that any courses that you take in EPL, in any of those programs, all could be applied to the doctoral program. That's not the case if you're bringing in a master's from outside, but that is the case if you're in the master's. We have a good number of doctoral students who come in as a doctoral and then decide they want to pick up one of the graduate certificates or the master's along the way. We also have, all she hasn't talked about, some people who come into the doctoral program and also then decide they want to be school leaders. They're teachers already and decide they want to move into leadership, who will also do that. But because they are nested, it's a fairly automatic process.
Okay, gotcha.
And for the GOP question, I would say to reach out to the graduate school. They're the ones that that can answer the questions about that. And their
Okay.
email is just graduate@albany.edu.
Okay, all right. But my main thing is in terms of if you get to sit with a counselor or advisor prior to doing anything.
So if you have previous graduate credit, are you interested in knowing if those credits would apply to one of these programs?
Well, yeah, but not necessarily whether it applies or not in terms of mapping what you want to do. Because I'm a very practical person. I'm not going to waste my time. This is money, energy, and all of that good stuff. So my thing is, I'm not going to just do something just to get a piece of paper. I need to be practical. If the trajectory is a PhD in international trade and marketing, for instance, I need to know that whatever the courses are that I'm taking previously is going to match that end goal.
So I think, Dr. Giuliano, would you be someone who would be good to sit down and talk, because you do so much advising with the students, to maybe talk with her about her trajectory through?
Yeah, well, I can address that. We don't, I mean, I'm always perfectly happy to, look over a student's transcripts or to give some insights into what we do and what we take, but we don't actually do a really formal pre-admissions review. Students have to apply to get that kind of review. So in other words, I can do something that's kind of an off the record. I think this is a ballpark. My sense is it would be this much, but we don't give pre-admission guarantees.
Right.
So you would have to apply and be admitted to get that kind of that kind of attention. I guess I'll say, I mean, I don't want to say that I wouldn't pay attention, but my point is that you need to have a term I hate, but like skin in the game to get that kind of review from faculty. But I certainly can give you an idea if I see what you have taken, if I see what your grades were, if I see how old that credits were, where they came from. Yeah, I can give you a ballpark estimate of, of what you would bring in terms of where they would exactly fit. Again, we offer different courses, and so it might well be that we don't offer some course for a while, and so it wouldn't match that, so that you wouldn't have the ability to take that course anyway, or it's a little bit difficult to talk about the schedule any longer than, let's say, a year out.
Right.
So, I'm not clear exactly what your question is, but
right. So if anything, I'll just shoot you an email, because I know there are others on the line.
Yeah, you can. Right.
Also, to answer the question,
absolutely, you can email me, and I'll be happy.
Okay, thank you.
Our PhD, the EPL doctorate PhD, has a concentration in international comparative education and a concentration in higher education, and that's why the IAML or the higher ed masters or the EPL masters all nest within it. In other words, you can take any courses you take as part of those programs could also be applied to the doctoral if you go on.
Okay, good. All right.
We had a question about what is the job placement rate of graduates?
It varies a lot depending on the degree.
Okay.
A good number of our part-time students, like Alyssa, was employed when she finished and then has changed jobs since then.
Yes.
Most of our part-time students are working, but at the moment our placement rates are very, very good. I think students are, our graduates are having jobs before they're graduates, even those that are full-time. Like we get a good number of students who come out of the straight out of undergrad into our master's programs, and then pretty sure almost all of them are placed beforehand. Most of our doctoral students are already working, so it gets kind of hard to say, are they employed? Well, yeah, they were employed before they graduated, but move forward. And I know I saw there's a mention here about the school building leader and district leader. They are also being placed as fast as we are able to produce them. They're very high demand in our school districts around here, so.
We had a question from two students, actually. How many students are admitted every semester? One was curious about for the PhD program, but the other one may have been for some of the other programs.
Well, we have rolling admissions, so as of what date? We usually take in around, currently we've been having a lot of interest in the doctoral program. I think waiving the GRE created that. I think also people are having coming out of COVID are very interested in furthering their qualifications. So we usually have probably, because they can start at any point in the time in the summer, probably about 12 to 15 doctoral students a year. Vary from new admits. For the master's program, it's been varying, and we're trying to get the enrollments up. So anybody wants to, although we maintain our program, our standards, but we usually get around 30 new master's students a year, somewhere around there. But again, some start in the summer, some start in winter, some start in January. We're real flexible.
Someone had a question about application fee waivers, and I did put a link. Those are handled by the graduate schools or our graduate admissions office, but there's a link in the chat if anybody else had interest or knew that they might be eligible for that.
Yeah. I also want to note, if any of you happen to be working in student affairs at UAlbany and looking to come into the master's program or some of the other positions around Albany, I know student affairs has been basically covering the application fee for people who are working for them. That's part of our partnership with them to build a stronger university by partnering in professional development and attracting high quality people to work at the university and training them.
We had a question about someone who was interested in the pathway to becoming a superintendent. I am putting the name of that program in the chat. It's our advanced graduate certificate in school district leadership. But I do want to point out that you have to earn an AGC in school building leadership first. So that would be to become a principal. And before you can do that, you have to be someone who already holds teacher certification. So if you are not currently a certified teacher, that pathway it's not necessarily impossible, but it's extremely difficult and rare to become a superintendent without having been a certified teacher. I think there are some strange caveats in the NYSED regulations there, but yeah, mainly certified teachers, school building leader, school district leader is the way that it goes.
Yeah. To answer the question about, so it's a school advanced graduate certificate in school building or school district leadership. Yes, you can be. To be admitted, you need to have a master's degree because that's a requirement for professional teacher certification anyway. So that's part of the admissions requirement. So you need to have a master's before you get into the program. However, you can't, once in the program, you can apply all your credits to the PhD, and we have a good number of people who get who enter the PhD program and decide they want to get school building leader or district leader along the way. Create some interesting pathways, but
this is a great question. Does rolling from the master's into the PhD automatically waive the GRE?
Well, at the moment, the GRE is waived anyway. So.
Yes, that is for the upcoming semester. So if they're thinking about getting their master's first, that may be a year or two from now. So I will say from my own personal experience, I did get the master's first, and then I did have to have GRE scores for the PhD program. I think I mentioned, it's an ongoing evaluation of the GRE as part of the application. And so there are no guarantees that it will or will not be included in future semesters. Is that correct as of right now? Okay,
Still under consideration.
okay. We have a hand raised.
All right, thank you all for taking the time to talk to us today. I was just wondering, so I'm planning on applying for the spring semester to do my MS in higher education online. And then the plan was to then do it fall in person. I was wondering what the switch from online to in person was, if there's like
It's
anything.
pretty seamless, yeah.
It's just whatever course you sign up for.
Yep, it's sort of up to you. So I will say it's so strange because I feel like I didn't do this degree all that long ago, but there was not a robust online course offering at the time. So a lot of my courses were in person. And I just wanted to mention that because I was also working. So even doing in-person courses while you're working, it's definitely manageable. Online courses kind of like sprinkled throughout can help to maybe balance that. So it's certainly possible to do a little bit of both,
Sounds good. Thank you.
of course.
Oh, yeah, and the thing is about the online option, as it's called. If you take any in-person class, I hate I don't want like that term at all, on-campus classes, then you need to adhere to the university vaccine requirement. If you're completely online, you have a vaccine waiver, basically. So that's one difference. The second thing is if you are out of state, you get a special online tuition rate. I don't think it's a big deal for New York State residents, but for people who are not New York State residents, the online option is cheaper. So if you were going to be coming on campus, the thing about the on-campus approach is that you probably will end up taking some online classes just because we offer so many. So you'll take a mix of classes, some on campus, some online, some hybrid, some asynchronous, some synchronous. And so you'll have a lot of different options. And so being flexible to the on campus will give you the full array of choices, basically.
Sounds good. Thank you.
We have another hand raised.
Yes, it was just touched on a little bit in terms of the asynchronous classes. For masters, when you go on, it will tell you which ones are offered asynchronously solo, right?
Yeah, so before you register for a class, you're able to see how it's offered. And I think what's also wonderful is if it is a hybrid course and there will be synchronous meetings, it lets you know early on which dates those synchronous meetings will occur.
Okay.
So it will tell you in advance.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Does anyone else have any other questions? Oh, is that hand still raised or is that a new hand raise? I can't tell. Oh, can I take the teaching certification exam while undergoing my doctoral program? So teacher certification in New York State is extremely complex. It involves, unfortunately, a lot more than taking a certification exam. So it typically involves being in what's called an approved teacher preparation program. The programs that we mentioned today are not approved teacher preparation programs, although UAlbany does have some. We have two at the graduate level, one that certifies at the secondary level and one that certifies for childhood special education and literacy. Those programs are offered in a different department. And so while some of the credits from those masters may be able to be used toward the PhD later down the line, those programs are very different. They are typically full-time. They involve a lot of in-person coursework, student teaching. There's quite a bit of requirements through New York State Education Department to earn that teacher certification. And so it's sort of like doing an entirely separate thing to become certified, and then potentially moving on to doctoral study. That's definitely something that I can talk with you more about if you want to learn more about the programs that we have that lead to teacher certification. It's just that the programs that I mentioned today do not. Do we have any?
We do have Alyssa and other people in this, and Christy Smith, who's an associate dean, I believe, are very, very good though about being able to navigate the New York State certification.
Very, yeah,
complexities.
it's
So
I will say, like, New York State is one of the states with the most requirements to become a certified teacher. We are certainly very, I mean, it's not a bad thing to keep high standards for our teachers, but the process can be complex. Do we have any other questions? Well, if you think of anything, we have, like I mentioned, email addresses. The Pi Center, like I said, is a great place to start. I may then put you in touch with Maria or Gina or Dr. Schiller, but it's a great place to start. I'm going to put the email in the chat, picenter@albany.edu. You can also feel free to use our Zoom hours if you had some questions that you wanted to discuss more in depth. But otherwise, I just want to say thank you all for taking some time out of your evening to spend with us to learn about this program. I always like to share about this program as, you know, someone who completed it, and being able to talk to other people who share maybe some of the same interests as me. And yeah, we hope to see some of your names coming through on applications in the near future. Oh yes, so the question on the application fee waiver, I put a link in the chat, which I'll do again. I'll just put it right so that it's more recent. The graduate school is where you would go for information on application fee waivers. So there are some eligibility requirements, but I believe if you reach out to them, they can tell you a little bit more about that. I'm glad I caught that before I signed off. Well, all right. So thank you again, everybody. I hope everybody has a great night. I hope that, you know, the information that we shared tonight was helpful in your future planning. And yeah, have a great night, everyone. And thank you, Dr. Schiller, Dr. Juliana, Maria, thank you guys for being here.
Great.